Get it understood, boy. I am from the hood, boy. Came up from the dirt. Self-made hustler, I'm a beast. I'm a beast. I'm surrounded by all these devil mouths. They talking about kills. Some say I came from heaven, but I rose up from hell. And every
this project together.
I just say, like, you know, we had the you know, the Fiesta remix and Not Guilty, you know, and doing that and hearing how those two singles came out. We would always toss the idea back and forth, but it was just the idea, like, we can do a whole album together. And we creative people, so creative people create. You know, just the idea of having a whole album with myself and RKELLY was just, see how it would come out was just an amazing prospect. So we we put it together, man. We started coming up, and here we are.
Right.
It's like mad scientists, you know, in the basement. It's like mad scientists in the basement, you know what I'm saying? We, Jay is real creative, I'm real creative, and it's like, you want to get together and mix potions, you know what I'm saying, just to see what happens. That's how the lights were created, you know, the piano and cameras, you know what I'm saying? That's how all this happened, you know what I'm saying? Somebody got together and, you know, and said, let's see how this works, let's see how that works. And that's how great things happen.
Next question.
Hi, will you guys be touring together?
Best of Both World Tours. Come to a city near you soon. Definitely tour together with the show. We right now
Best of Both Worlds, T-shirts, draws, condoms, everything, burgers.
Sure. We gonna put the show together. Just one set. Let you just a real, like, it's all the way together. It's not gonna be two sets.
Right.
Just one long set. You know, you're doing the songs that you know, people love them for. I'm doing, you know, songs from my album, and we doing songs from the Best of Both Worlds album, and, you know, giving people what they came to see.
Right, right.
My name is
Barry Hankerson was fired January of 2002. Robert did the Winter Olympics, February of 2002, and the Best of Both Worlds was to be released March of 2002. The only person that would know the release date for the album, The Best of Both Worlds, the tour schedule, the anticipated touring dates, the dates for the Winter Olympics, would be the person that worked on those deals, the manager. Demetrius Smith stated in his book that a guy named General got in touch with him and wanted to get in touch with Barry Hankerson. He said that Barry didn't want anything to do with the guy, and then later in the book he said Barry was producing the guy. Demetrius also stated on the telephone to me that Barry Hankerson had hired him to work with him after Demetrius was fired from working with Robert and after Barry was fired. I found that curious because Demetrius really has no experience, and he only worked for Robert a brief period of time. He stole money from Robert. He had been in and out of prison for breaking into people's homes, selling drugs, robbing major department stores. Why would Barry hire him? Why would Barry work with General, who called Demetrius and said he stole RKELLY's tapes? Robert told me that Barry Hankerson, Sparkle, Demetrius, and General all worked together, stole the tapes, tried to extort money from him, and proceeded to destroy his career based on personal vendettas.
You know what I'm saying? This is not Disneyland. This album is not Disneyland. So, you know, it's up to the parents out there, you guys out there, to train your kids and bring them up the way you should. I'm doing mine like that, so you guys should do yours.
Hi, I'm Calvin Terrell with Sister to Sister magazine. There has certainly been the climate in R&B and certainly in rap, one of competitiveness, both in the studio, on stage, and out of the studio. Do you hope that your collaboration will set a trend for more unity among artists?
I hope our collaboration set a trend for more unity as black people on the whole. You know what I'm saying? You got a cab company, and I got a cab company. We fighting for the same money. You know, maybe we could join forces and you know, be much more profitable. You know what I mean? And I mean that's why this panel is here, and that's why we have the support of Russell and Andre and Johnny C. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we know.
UPN 9, Judia Chavez. My question is, the best of both worlds. Who came up with this project idea and who came up with the title of it?
See, you trying to separate us already. Both of us.
All right, that's great.
I don't even remember.
Who wrote most of the music on this?
Both of us.
So it's totally equal.
Both of us.
No one's getting more credit, I guess.
Now, see, there we go.
I'm not trying to say that.
No, I'm just messing with you. But both of us.
I was at Track Studio with Robert early 2000. We were in the room and he got a phone call. And he went outside in the hall to take the call. It was quiet for a few minutes. And then I started hearing yelling, cursing. It sounded as if something hysterical was happening. So I looked out the peephole in the door, and I could see Robert standing in the hall, leaning against the wall with the cell phone up to his ear. So he was talking to someone on the phone, and I couldn't hear the other person's side of the conversation, but I could hear Robert cursing them out and yelling, and I won't discuss the nature of the call, but I will say he was being threatened. And I could tell very clearly whoever had called him was threatening him, and he was, from what I could hear, responding to that threat. He ran out of the studio immediately. He was in the middle of a session at the time, and he knew that I was there. He bolted out of the studio without going back into his session or without saying anything to me. I waited and waited and waited, and then finally I called the desk, and they told me that he had rushed out of the studio. So that was the day that he got the call. That was the moment that he got the call about threats to extort money from him. Barry Hankerson began managing AALIYAH, and he got her in the movie Romeo Must Die. It was released March of 2000. She also did music for the movie. After that, she was in Queen of the Dam, that filmed the summer of 2001, and it was set to be released February of 2002. Barry Hankerson was fired January of 2002. I believe in large part because Robert is the franchise. He is the artist. Barry Hankerson was his manager. AALIYAH, as Barry Hankerson's niece, was under that label. And then Barry separated AALIYAH from that, and he was managing her separately. By getting her 2 movie roles and not getting Robert movie roles, I believe that created a reason for Robert to terminate him, along with other reasons. There may have been some financial misappropriation of monies, but I believe the impetus for the release was AALIYAH appearing in Romeo Must Die March of 2000, and then Queen of the Dam released February of 2002. Barry was fired January 2002. Jim DeRogatis receives a tape February 1st, 2002, which he's supposed to turn over to the police, but in court records, it was stated that he made copies. He interviews Sparkle February 4th, 2002. How would Jim DeRogatis know who's in the tape and who's related to even know to call and interview Sparkle? All of that was a setup. Robert is to perform at the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, February 8th, 2002. The Best of Both Worlds is scheduled to be released March 9th of 2002, but it is delayed because of the release of the tape, and you see that JAYZ and RKELLY did a press conference March 26, 2002. Russell Simmons, Andre Harrell were both at the press conference. They were working in partnership with JAYZ and RKELLY on all of the things around the album and the tour that would be mutually beneficial for all. When Robert fired Barry, Barry is the only person who would have known the release date for the album, the tour schedule, and the date for the appearance at the Winter Olympics, because as manager, he would have been the one to schedule those things. February 4th, 2002, Jim DeRogatis of the Chicago Sun-Times interviews Sparkle. It was transcribed from a audio recording, so you see tape 2, side 1, and the minutes that it was. It states, on February 1st, 2002, the Sun-Times anonymously received a copy of the videotape. February 1st. He's interviewing Sparkle February 4th, which is 3 days later. He states in the interview, Q would be Jim DeRogatis, I just want to know BH is partially motivated by he's tired of seeing young girls get hurt. A, which is Sparkle, I'm sure a lot of people would agree. Q, which is DeRogatis again, but is it partly that BH wants revenge for the whole AALIYAH thing? Sparkle, I don't know. I'm sure he would tell you. He'd have no problem telling you. Jim DeRogatis, he never has. I'm sure that tape came by BH, not directly. He's wondering about the police investigation. In his own notes, Jim DeRogatis first told the police he got the tape anonymously, but clearly he knows the tape came from Barry Hankerson. Sparkle knows the tape came from Barry Hankerson because the conversation is going as if everybody is aware of what's going on. He asks her, when did you break away from R. Kelly? She says late 1999. They signed a release agreement in 2000. He then asks her, you got a call from who? I don't know. But you let somebody in your apartment to show you a sex tape of a minor, and you don't know who it was. I don't know what they wanted. If they wanted money. I'm assuming that was their MO. So somebody calls you, you assume they're trying to extort money. They say they have a sex tape, and you allow them to come to your house. Jim DeRogatis asks, was it packaged to the attorney? Sparkle answers, could have been. Barry Hankerson was married to Gladys Knight. They had 2 sons, Shanga and Jomo. Barry Hankerson went on to manage R. Kelly, and he then managed AALIYAH and worked with Missy, Timberland, Tony Braxton, Tank, and many others. He has been in lawsuits with artists that he's had under his label for misappropriation of money, for various disputes in their contract. He had a lawsuit with Tony Braxton, a lawsuit with J-Dub, a lawsuit with Timbaland. He has been R. Kelly's manager since the beginning of his career. Robert fired him January of 2002. Tony Braxton filed a lawsuit against Barry Hankerson and his record label, Black Round Records, and his son Jomo, who was partners with him, for monies that she felt were owed her in the amount of $375,000. And other monies and misappropriation of funds. A producer by the name of J-Dub sued Barry Hankerson, and Black Round Records says he's owed over $400,000 in royalties for his work on AALIYAH's album and Tank's album, and was seeking $200,000 in compensatory damages. Timbaland also sued Barry Hankerson and Black Round Records for, again, monies owed, suspect business practices, and both producers were suing for their participation in AALIYAH's work, the rights to that work, and dissemination of the work. And that's why AALIYAH's music has not been released, because it's tied up in lawsuits by several people who are claiming ownership of the material and rights to different percentage of royalties with AALIYAH's music, her albums, and songs that they wrote and produced. One evening, Demetrius Smith called me, and he had been smoking some ooh-wee and drinking, so he was very talkative, and he was revealing a lot of details that he did not put in his book and that he had not told many people. That's when he told me Drea was on a sex tape, and he had seen the tape. Carrie had it. She was playing with her clit with her leg behind her head and corkscrewing on Robert's dick. What he said that was most important was Barry Hankerson and Daryl McDavid have all of Robert's money. And he went on to say that he was still working with Barry Hankerson and Daryl McDavid. He was a little high. I understood that, so I remained quiet to get him to tell me more. When we got off the phone, he called me at 2 o'clock in the morning and left me a message, paranoid that I recorded that call. And he wanted to make certain I did not have permission to record any call of his. The next morning, 7 a.m., he called me again. We exchanged some words. And I hung up the phone. What I was 100% clear on is Demetrius Smith told me that he worked for Barry Hankerson. He still talks to Daryl McDavid. He has a good relationship with both. And he stated Barry Hankerson and Daryl McDavid have all of Robert's money. I don't believe he meant they have it legally. He also stated that in his book that he sent me, a guy named General is the one that broke into Rob's locker, stole the bag full of tapes. He's the one that put General in touch with Barry. Barry began managing General, and Demetrius and General transported the sex tapes across state line to New York to get them to Barry. And all of that is what led to the takedown of R. Kelly. Sparkle, Demetrius, General, Barry Hankerson formed a band of thieves to steal the tapes, to disseminate the tapes, to extort money from Robert, and if Robert did not pay the money, then they would destroy his career. All based on a personal vendetta.
You shouldn't just run to social media first to cancel somebody out or to expose someone. And then if you are going to do that, make sure you expose yourself first. Deal with yourself first. So,
yeah. Here's a rumor I heard, though. Did you and R. Kelly ever date?
Not at all.
Okay.
Never dated. I dated someone that was around, but I never dated Robert at all. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Before you expose someone, expose yourself. She's asked in every interview, were you involved with R. Kelly? Every single time she lies blatantly. No, I was not involved with him. I dated someone around him. She was married to Earl in public announcement, Robert's band member. She left Earl to go fuck R. Kelly. I saw her in pictures doing menage a trois group sex. She came over to his house in a see-through skirt with black panties on with another female and went into the master bedroom, I assumed to do menage a trois. She took dick in every hole, ate pussy by the pound. Yes, I think you were involved with R. Kelly. Expose yourself first before you go exposing someone else. It's not that she was involved with him. It's not that she even left her husband for him. It's that she habitually lies about it. It's that she has brought her family around him because she did not know he was married to Drea with a child. She thought she was going to be the first lady of Rockland Records. She fucked, sucked, took dick in every hole, ate cooch by the pound, found out he was married, and lost her fucking mind as a result. She terminated her relationship with him over that. Left her record deal. She was a one-hit wonder. The only song she had that was a hit was the one he wrote, produced, starred in. She even rode in his Range Rover in the videos. That's his candy apple red Range Rover that she was driving. She comes to the house. Drea knocks simply because Drea wants her presence known. Robert is not aware that he's being played on both sides of this. Sparkle gets pissed. She walks away and she wants her family to walk away too, and they refuse to. She considers everybody disloyal. Everybody has betrayed her, and she's going for blood. Expose the shit.
Yeah, so let me share that with you.
Okay, give them, because they didn't see that part.
Yeah, so I hear a knocking, and we're watching the playoff game, and I'm looking around like, okay, you know, nobody ain't looking or saying nothing. Kept knocking. I'm like, yo, Robert. I said, somebody knocking. You don't hear that? So I'm thinking it's the door. And he was like, just kept looking at the TV. I'm like, it kept knocking. I'm just like, look. And you hear somebody knocking. So he goes, yeah. And then she peeps out and says something. He was like, come on.
Can I get something to eat? I think you said. Can I come down or something?
She said.
Andrea's asked for permission.
Yeah, she's asking for permission to come down to eat.
Right.
So she comes down, grabs her food, and goes back up. And I'm staring him like this. And I say, you know what? You a piece of work. How dare you? And he's turned this way. I said, that S ain't funny. I said some other stuff, but I can't say it on here. But yeah, I was like, dude, what you on? People don't know this. I called DCFS on my sister and them. Because I had gotten calls from two separate people in Robert's camp stating, something ain't right, yo. You something ain't right. You need to look into this. Your niece is down here by herself. What's going on with your sister and your brother-in-law?
Right.
I called DCFS along, me and two of my good girlfriends in my crib. We called DCFS. They went out and investigated them. This is prior to the tape, okay? Anybody knowing about a tape, even me. And I did that with my girlfriends, and they went and investigated. They came to my parents' house and, questioned my sister and my brother-in-law, and they basically told them, DCFS, that no, nothing was wrong. They didn't see anything, and if they had, he would get dealt with.
Ask you this: what is your relationship right now with your niece and your sister? Because now with the docuseries being in the forefront and everyone in the world talking about it, have you guys had a conversation? Are they upset with you?
Okay, so I was estranged from my family for 10 years when I came out in 2001. Okay, so 2011, our parents' 50th anniversary came around, and we gave them a big shindig, and to celebrate them. And that's when we came back, into each other's lives. And now, my mom passed away in October. So we buried her. Then the trailer comes out 2 days later after we buried my mom. So we're still grieving, and the trailer's out. I hadn't had a chance to tell them, because if I had told them while she was sick, we wouldn't have been able to do this for my mom and put her away like we did. They would be pissed off at me or whatever. So right now, I haven't spoken to them. And of course, they're pissed because they think I'm the one that keeps bringing.
She states she's at Robert's house. She sees Drea. Drea knocks. She comes out, and she says to her boss, who she has no relationship with, "Nigga, you a piece of work." She begins to chastise him. Why? Because Drea is in the bedroom and she knocks and says, "I need to get something to eat." That's not cause for your employee to get in her boss's face. The fact that she's at his house, they watching the playoff games, she says Drea knocked, came out, got something to eat, and went back upstairs, and that was cause for her to curse Robert out, tells you it was personal. I'm fucking you, I'm sucking dick, taking dick in every hole. She was menage a trois, group sex, eating cooch by the pound, and you got some other bitch at your house? That's what caused her to blow up. Then she says she called DCFS on her sister, her brother-in-law, and Rashana because she told them to leave with her and they refused. She justified it by saying someone told her Rashana was in the studio by herself. If she's an artist on his label and she's recording, and this is 1999, at that point, Rashana's 16 years old, going on 17. Why wouldn't she be by herself? So there was no cause for alarm. She's an artist. She's recording her album. Why would you call DCFS? Then she states her family did not fuck with her. She left Robert's label, but no one else in her family left. No one else in her family testified with her. She has 6 siblings. 1 brother sided with her. Everybody else didn't. Rashana has grandparents on her father's side, her mother's side. Aunts and uncles on the father's side, the mother's side. Cousins, nieces, nephews, all types of extended family on her father's side and her mother's side. Only 2 people, Sparkle and 1 brother, aligned against Val, Greg, and Rashana and said it was Sparkle. Everyone else in the family, including grandparents, not only sided with Val, Greg, and Rashana, refused to testify, and those that did testify said it wasn't her, and they alienated Sparkle. They stopped speaking with Sparkle. They all stopped fucking with her. She says herself, they didn't speak to her until 2011, and then when she got with Surviving R. Kelly again, She didn't even tell them. If it's about Rashana, why wouldn't you talk to Val, Greg, and Rashana about that? Dream Hampton wants you, but she doesn't want Rashana, Val, Greg. She doesn't call the person who it's supposed to be centered around, or the mother and the father. And you participate in it. You don't tell them about it, because she states, I didn't tell them about it, but it was, the trailer started to play and they found out, and then they went back to not speaking with me. So that says she signed with Surviving R. Kelly and Dream Hampton, did not tell Rashana, did not tell Val and Greg, didn't tell anyone in her family. And yet it's supposed to be about Rashana, who at that point is 35 years old. She claims she's fighting for Rashana. But you don't tell Rashana Surviving R. Kelly is going to have you on there, and the subject is Rashana, and you don't try to convince Rashana to come on there. You appear without even notifying Rashana, without convincing Rashana to talk about it and come forward. And then keeps it from them until it's already